Right, golfers, I'm going to share with you a golf technique for driving that we see good players use, tried and tested by tour players, but we don't see everyday golfers using. My 30-30 system will help anyone improve their driver shots. I have 3 fixes. I'll also outline some common mistakes. The third fix is the easiest, but often it is actually the most effective. Before we get started with today's golf lesson, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I share videos like this every week that is going to help you play some better golf. So let's jump straight in. What is the 30-30 system? Well, a pattern we see from better golfers is they actually use their body in rotational terms. So if you think about your chest and how far it's rotating, and their tilt, so how far they're tilting this way and this way, into impact in a very even way. Meaning when we look at good players, if we see that their chest is open, say 30 degrees into impact, so as they hit the ball, their chest is rotated towards the target 30 degrees, then we see their side bend in their upper body about the same, within a few degrees. So if you have a good player that's rotated 35 degrees, then their tilt with their upper body is around 35 degrees. And if they rotated 20 degrees, then yes, their tilt around 20 degrees. So how much they go this way with their upper body is often balanced out with how much they go this way. And this is so key to hitting better tee shots in so many ways. 1, it's going to control club path, help you hit the ball straighter with the club traveling on a straighter path. 2, it helps control angle of attack. If you want to hit up or down, these numbers would slightly change. 3, it helps with speed, because when they balance these out, they're not wasting time trying to balance these out in the downswing, which you'll see from the common mistakes. They can spend their time rotating as fast as they need to get the club head speeds they want to hit the ball longer. So I think chest rotation is something lots of people would be aware that they're trying to do. So are you kind of stuck back here flipping it, or do you over rotate and then drag the club this way? Whatever it is, I think turns people understand. But when it comes to tilts, it's actually a number they never really think about. And you've all seen these patterns of good players hitting their shots, and their head's back and they hit out and the club goes out in front of them as they stay back. These tilts with these turns are fundamental to really good driving and hitting the hardest club in your bag, that driver, just straighter and longer. So let's give you 3 tips that are going to help you achieve this, because obviously impact, when hitting the ball, I am not per se thinking directly about am I turned and tilted the right amounts of impact, but I'm doing things in my setup. There's some key points in my backswing, in my downswing, that will encourage these angles, and ones which you'll see when we get to the common mistakes lots of golfers just aren't doing, so they would never be able to achieve this 30-30 system. But here's 3 tricks to getting you achieving it and hitting those perfect drives. Number 1, loading up your backswing in a way that's going to help you achieve good turns and tilts is crucial. What we see from better players, at the top of the backswing, they get around 32 degrees with their chest this way. So what you could now call side bend or bend, subject to which way you want to think about it. But basically, top of their backswing, their chest is around 32 degrees, lead shoulder down, trail shoulder up. Now that puts the club, kind of, I put it across my chest here, just between the ball I'm hitting here and these balls out in front of me. So around a grip's width in front of this ball I'm hitting. So drill number 1, take your club and I want you to put it across your chest. So normally these are all done about kind of round shoulders, but I want you to think about this area. I have to be careful, I've got a mic here, but almost at the bottom of my buttons, I've got the club. You can see how I've got the grip end here all stuck out this side, because I'm going to use this to get some gauge of how I should be rotating in relationship to this bend down, this tilt down on that backswing. Then I'm simply going to take a tee and I'm going to put it around a size 9 and a head's width away from me, just slightly behind the ball. So I've got the ball I'm teed up on here, and I've got this tee just a size 9 and a head's width to the right of the ball, but outside of the ball. Then from here on my backswing, I'm going to try and get the butt end of this club from my perspective, and that's the important point to remember. From my perspective, this club, if I was shooting a laser out of this club, is pointing at the tee. You're going to see from down the camera line that it's actually shooting way further out, but you're going to have perspective because you're not actually looking down the line if I actually got down here and looked at the line, it's shooting out. So that tee, at that distance, pretty much where the balls sit when you're at a range, kind of in the bucket next to you as a guidance, is really a good way of feeling that you get good amount of tilts in your backswing. Because remember, these bends are going to contribute to what happens down at impact this way. So how much rotation you put in, also how much side bend you put in. Now, just as a little bonus, what this tee on the ground also does is it allows me to feel that I'm turning my chest kind of 90 degrees or so. So if I was to get it parallel to my ball to target line, I could think about putting the tee maybe a little bit further back. So if you're someone who wants to do this and promote a little bit more shoulder turn, which for lots of you wouldn't do that much harm, I can point it at that tee slightly back. If you're someone who feels like you over rotate, I'd put it more in line with the ball. That'll be kind of 90. These are getting up near 100 turns. But most importantly, we've got that tilt in there we want. Now here's a really interesting one. Drill 2 will surprise you. Pattern we see from better players with rotation. So remember how much we're turning. We need tilts as well, which we're going to think about, but how much we're turning is key to get our 30-30 system working. So if we're 30 degrees open, we want 30 degrees of tilt. Good players' patterns, when their club gets down to last parallel, so club parallel to the ground with a driver, what happens is their shoulders are generally at 0, meaning they've gone from closed back to 0, and now in the last part of the swing, they've got that time to hit that 30 degrees of rotation. Crazy. Late, isn't it? I think lots of golfers would feel at this point that they should be really opening up, really getting those shoulders open, which you'll see in the common mistakes, how that doesn't work. So what I want you to do is just take a second club, pop it on the ground around your feet line, around parallel to the ball, the target line. So I've got mine. Let's pop it more on my feet line here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to again pop the club across my chest so I can use as a guide. I'm going to close in my chest, and then I'm going to try and get somewhere near 0, which these two clubs are now aligned. My chest is at 0. This point, this is where my hands are near my right thigh. My hands and the club is at last parallel with the club, hands right down near hitting the ball. I'm at 0. I'm square on at this point. Because from here, we just need that little bit of rotation. 30 degrees is nowhere near as much as people think. Now I can do this without the club on my chest. I get down to last parallel. I can see my chest is kind of level with this club. So this would be kind of this drop in here, chest quite close. I give those rolling releases. And then we see that, whoa, the big opening of the chest as well. It chucks the club out that way. And then we see another one where they open and then stall, which we'll show you in the common mistakes. So I'm going to do this little demo, which you can use. You're going to have to waste some balls doing this. You're not trying to hit good shots because it's hard to hit. You're going to come down last parallel, chest straight, and then just try and punt that ball out in front of you. It's just going to dip out of the air. Try and get them going straight if you can, but you're just almost chipping a driver out in front of you. And this is something you could be doing at home. In a reflection, looking at the mirror, chest is level, so it's pretty straight onto target. And then bang, try and get that 30 degrees open. So this is not only ordering chest turn, it's helping you, that's not a bad shot, look. Really order club path, because the way this chest is turning and tilted is going to throw club from these different angles, which is going to cause such issues with hitting straighter golf shots. Now the third drill is the easiest, but the most effective, which we're going to come to. Let's just share the common mistakes with what we see with golfers and the ones that really hold them back, making them hit those kind of, horrible, squirty, low or big block right drives. Now, if you're still here and you find the drills are helping you, make sure you hit that like button for me down there and don't be afraid to subscribe. So common fault number 1 is the chest too flat, which is why we put this drill in there. So I'm using this drill to try and get more of that 30 degrees-ish of bend on the way back rather than getting flat shoulder turns. The problem with flat shoulder turns, which we see so common, so if you're someone who's turning flat, you might see these kind of backswings, or kind of like here as well, where the elbow then tries to push the club up in the air because this has gone up rather than this down, this up, is that the amateur from a flat shoulder turn, they can't just rotate from there. If they rotate from there, they're done. They're going to chuck the club so far outside. So from the flat shoulder turn, what they have to do in the downswing is they then have to try and put those tilts in, standing the club up, and then from there they either hit it, and they hit down and left, or they're more coordinated and they feel like they can't hit it from there, and then we see the stall with the shoulders where everything doubles back. See big tilts, so they get like 25 degrees of tilt, 2 degrees of opening with their shoulders. Again, the 30-30 system isn't working. 30 degrees open, 30 degrees of tilt is such a balanced way to hit the ball. If you get this flat shoulder turn, waste split seconds that you don't have in the backswing, then trying to sort that, or on the downswing, trying to sort that out, that's where we see so many crashes. And we don't want to see crashes. We just want to see rips, don't we? Second common issue that we see, and I think this is the one that will surprise people, which is why it's so important you find that you get 0 with your chest when the club is in last parallel to then open up into impact, is people think they have to really open their shoulders up, so really go for it in the downswing. Good players, we see them like this, and I'm not like that, so I'm not opening my shoulders up early enough is the connection. And it makes sense why you might make that connection. Good player, more rotated. I come into the ball, I'm less rotated. I need to rotate more and earlier. Well, often what happens is we see golfers get to the top and rotate loads really early, again, realize they can't hit the ball from there, and they stall, meaning we then see the tilts happening to try and straighten everything up. So if you're just trying to really rotate your shoulders open more on the downswing, often, and this is why we've got the drill in here of getting that last parallel square on, I actually want golfers to rotate slower on the downswing, more into impact. So it's a ramping up of the speed where we see amateurs tend to get very early throwing shoulders across. So don't just think you need to just open yourself up on the downswing. That is a recipe for disaster. And I know I could go to loads of YouTube videos now telling you that you've got to really ramp that open, but this is measured data. This is just what good players are doing, and I want you to be a good player. And then the final common mistake that we see is a big drive with the hips. That one's very interesting as well. So we do see that with the hips, where golfers really want to drive hips. Again, this can create big tilts, so 30 tilt, but no rotation. These are tops, ground first. These are flip releases where the ball just wants to woohoo hook off to the left, or huge blocks off to the right. You even see people go this way, and then they try and stand the club up to correct it. They pull across the ball and they get cuts as well. Do not let your hips just jive out in front of you. Again, use that drill. 0 with your chest, last parallel. It'll calm everything down to then just move it into impact. And the final drill, and this is the most easiest. Remember, if you're liking the tips, hit that like button. Come on, YouTube loves it. I love you for it. And don't be afraid to subscribe as well. Every week, free tips helping you play better golf. Take your ball, put the logo of the ball on this side. So my Strixon logo is here. It's on this side of the ball. And this one is the simplest because it's more actionable. People can try and actually do it. There's a visual cue. So I want you to do a couple of practice swings where you feel like your upper body stays back, where I can still read that Strixon logo. Do one where you rotate and go forwards. The Strixon logo starts disappearing. If I do one where my hips go loads and I stay back, I can actually see the number on the golf ball, which is slightly too much. So with the ball set this way, you can even take this to the course. I am going to try and keep my eye on the back of that ball, so the writing for as long as possible as everything goes through. This is going to be great for getting the 30 this way. With the other drills, 30 opening, the more you get the 30-30 system working, the more consistent your tee shots are going to be. Use that logo to help extend out and into impact. It's a game changer. Now this is a driver lesson. Obviously when it comes to your irons, there are slightly different patterns that you can use to try and make sure you get the ball then turf. So we'll see slightly different numbers to make sure the strike with the iron is exactly where we want it. Now if you want to make sure your iron strikes are working for you, this video is going to give you all the information you need. Subscribe button's down there if you haven't already subscribed. See you soon.